because I couldn't fill this out without this.
There you go, good.
So where do I put this one? Wait, it doesn't tell you where.
So the agenda item would be agenda item number 5.
It wouldn't be 7?
It's the announcement of millage rate, so when we start discussing this.
Yeah, but what I was worried about, it says support, oppose, or inform, but, so number 5 includes all of them. Number 5 includes the original, the rollback, and then an
That's where they'll be
increase.
discussing.
So how do you put, you don't want to put support because there's 3 things.
Just inform. You just want to discuss it. You just want to get up and say yes.
Related to the action, and why, is this a separate one for comment to the board adoption of the resolution? Okay.
So that would be the same thing. Then. So you can get up there and say why you do or don't want whatever you do or don't want.
But I mean, down.
Because it's an action item, so I would technically I would just put it here, but it's not ever ever.
So number 5 again?
Yeah. I mean that's what you want to talk about, right? Is whether they keep it the same, raise it, or lower it.
Recommendation, but committee recommends approve 23, resolution 2021.
2023-21, so that's the year, that's the number of the resolution. So they're going to decide which one they're going to vote for, and then they'll make the recommendation.
Oh, well. Can't hurt to try.
For the trench.
And then the other one, you said that, okay, thank you.
Good evening. I am calling the Trim Public Hearing Meeting to order at 5:05. As a reminder, please turn off all cell phones and put them on silent mode. If you have any public comments, please complete one of the forms on the table left of the podium. And we will start. Ms. Alma, could you please do roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Tori Woods.
Present.
Ms. Hightower.
Present.
Mr. Peden.
Here.
Dr. Northup. Mr. Leonard. Ms. Kane.
Present.
Commissioner May. Ms. White.
Present.
And Judge Harris.
So we are now opening the public hearing on the proposed millage rate for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Any board discussion on the presented millage rate, Mr. David, or board discussion?
I thought that we had a finance committee meeting and that the finance committee recommended the .4365.
We did,
Okay.
yes. We had it on, I forgot what day it was, but we definitely did.
Because as I see them both here, I just wondered if,
So the committee recommends the second one. We just have them both on here for information. That one we,
Yes, it was a
Okay.
millage rate of .4365, which is the rollback rate, but it's increased because the property values went up, so.
any other discussion on the committee recommendation?
so that's coming as a recommendation from the committee, so now you can move into the hearing.
So I will read the resolution and then ask for public comment. The resolution of the Escambia County Children's Trust adopting a tentative millage rate to be levied for the 2023 tax year and declaring the percentage change in the property tax levy is defined under the Florida statute section 200.265. And now we have public comment. We have one. Ms. Barber?
You sort of lost me already in that first one, what y'all were just discussing. So I was looking at the taxes, and the millage rate, when it was first voted on, before there was a board, before you had any employees, right? When it first came out, there was no plan, no board, no employees. This was voted on. We all had all this money, and it was at the millage rate of 0.4365. Then it went down to the 0.3864. So now we want to go back up again to even higher than the first one. But yet we've not even seen any results of what has been done with all this money. And there's a lot of people that are confused on all the money that has come in for this trust, and we've not had any evaluation. So why do you want to go up? I guess is my question. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. So our millage rate we had for the past year was .4365, and the .3864 would just be our rolled back rate, which means that it would keep our taxes at the same amount, the taxable income at the same amount. The .4365 would be keeping our millage rate the same. We're going to still be charging the same percentage, but it would be a slight tax increase because property values went up so much in the past year.
Then I probably need to take a lesson on these millage rates, because
So, on your property-
2023,
We need you to be at the mic because this is being recorded.
So on your property tax statements, it says .5, which was the maximum amount we can charge. We issued it at that rate because we can't go up from a lower rate if we find that we need to in our budget meetings.
can you stay at the 0.3864 where you were at now?
We aren't there now. We're at .4365 now.
So what we're asking now, we can ask for the 0.3.
We
So-
could. It will be with all of the fact that we've had so much inflation and different items coming up over the year. We've got a lot of items that are going up by 10% in our
But that's
software.
my point, though. My point is that a lot of people, it's not me, it's lots of individuals, when we have discussions, maybe not as formal as this, but everyone's feeling inflation. Taxes are going up like crazy on everything. If you look at your electric bill and stuff like that, charges and taxes are $40 just on the electric bill, not counting your electricity. So we have families hurting with already inflation. People can't afford houses because of high taxes and then the high interest rates on loans. So to me, the
Time.
property taxes are very important for people being able to own homes, take care of children, and.
Ms.
I
Barber, I'm
think-
sorry, your 3 minutes is up. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's okay, I didn't know what time, what
Yes.
amount you had. But anyway, so,
Thank you.
yes, I'm here to look at all the items on taxes.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. We have any other public comment? No other public comment. We will close the public hearing on proposed millage rate for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
Madam Chair, are we talking about, you read this statement and then we discuss the rates, or are you, if you read this statement now, we're locked into 4.365?
We have a roll call vote at the end.
And we haven't had discussion by the board.
Right, that's what I'm saying, if she reads this, that's what I was trying to figure out, if we can have discussion after this statement.
Correct? We aren't locked in because we haven't voted.
We had a motion and we voted on it, or we didn't vote on it yet, so we still have discussion.
Okay, very good,
Yes,
thank you.
Do we have any other comments from the board?
So there's a motion and a second for the .4365
There's a recommendation from the committee.
as recommended. And now we're going to discussion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
That's where we are now.
Awesome.
Did you have any discussion?
No,
Madam Chair,
I was just getting clarification.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair,
I'm sure I will have a comment, I mean, before you call the vote, but yeah.
Madam
but,
Chair,
yeah.
I would like to address what Ms. Barber, I didn't get your last name, addressed about what we've spent with the money thus far, and if Dr. Kruper or Tammy can give a brief, like, couple minutes or whatever, of what we have spent with the money this past year from the taxpayers. I would love to hear that, and that might help Ms. Barber and some of her colleagues.
Okay, so roughly, and I don't have the numbers with me, but roughly this year, we have spent about $2 million, and 1.27 of that went to payment to providers in the community. So those providers provided after-school time programs, summer programs. We have Early Learning Coalition that got school vouchers for children to attend school readiness programs. We have a Help Me Grow contract that's just coming online that will be doing mental health and behavioral with children. We have legal services for children that are in dependency. We also funded $77,000 to help re-outfit a dental van for the community health, so they can take that around to schools for the children to get services at the school. So,
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If people have access to their computers, in our packet for the meeting today, under the financial reports, there's a listing of the funded grants that you can look at and see who has been funded, how much has been expended, how much is still left to be spent by those organizations. So it is part of today's meeting packet.
And one of the additional comments in regards to people concerned appropriately towards the future, and with these higher prices, as you mentioned, is that a lot of the programs, as a matter of fact, the vast majority of the programs who have received funding now are not one-time funding. They're for 2 years or 3 years going forward. So we are obligated at this point in time, assuming these programs do what they're contracted to do, to not only be expending money this year on these programs, but a number of these programs are already obligated towards funding for next year and the year following that. So the amount of money that you look at coming into our budget for next year, some of that money is already allocated and already spent towards these programs that we funded this past year and already. So as we ramp up, once we get ramped up into all of these programs, we will be funding programs again on a broader scale, greater in number, but we will be obligating funding to them when we not only fund them for this 1 year. Most of these, as I say, we are committing to them, if they commit to the terms of their contract and they're able to fulfill them, that they will get funding for the next 2 to 3 years. And so that those dollars are all, if you will, and looking at it from a family budgeting standpoint and that type of thing, these dollars are already spent and already committed, if you will, and that's why the need for additional funding is to fund additional programs as we do go into the future. And I hope that helped clarify.
But I guess, Kim, maybe for me, for a point of clarification, we're committed into a 3-year contingency and not a 3-year commitment, correct?
Correct.
Right, they're annual contracts that are renewable for the
Right.
3 years pending outcomes.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
and if I could clarify, so we have roughly 7.5 million in grants right now that have been signed up for the 3 years. And if we get the mental health grants approved, we'll have about 9.5 million. So out of the revenue that's coming in, we already have that much obligated for the next year.
Any other board discussion? No other board discussion. So the recommendation from the Budget Committee recommends the board approve Resolution 2023-21 preliminary. And now we have a roll call vote. Ms. Alma, please.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Ms. Hightower?
Yes.
Mr. Peden?
No.
Dr. Northup?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
No.
Ms. White?
Yes.
And that is all for tonight. So that passes 5-2.
Thank you. So we have the open hearing for the proposed budget for the fiscal year. And reading of that resolution, Ms. Tammy?
I have to apologize, the resolution did not make it into the packet.
Okay.
So the resolution would be that we are going to be doing, it'd be 2023-22, and it'll be the resolution for the .4365 meal, which will be a 12.97% income revenue increase. On that budget, for the average taxpayer whose home is, property value is at $300,000, it'll be $131 a year for the .4365.
Thank you. Any public comment? No public comment. We are closing the public hearing on the 2023-2024 budget. Comments from the board?
I'd just like to say, I agree with you, Madam, what you said about inflation and things costing a lot more. And I really believe that the trust needs to live within its budget as well. And the percentages, it's a rollback, but the percentages, because property values have increased, is more of a burden on our lesser income folks who own homes, not the $500,000 or $600,000 homes. But I'd like to see us roll back to 0.3864, and I think that'd be a good sign of trust with this community, that we are still funding programs, but we are doing within our means.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
And Dave, the reason I support you is because we rolled back the millage twice at the county because property values have escalated. And unfortunately, one of the things that has contributed to gentrification is people who own their homes, their tax bill has increased, not because of the millage rate, but because of the increase in the values of their property. And so when we projected those numbers, based on the millage rate and the values at that time, and we've exceeded those. And so the values have allowed for us to get more money than we anticipated, and taxpayers always deserve the savings. And so, Dave, that's why I did not I would have supported a rollback rather than staying the same, because I think that, a lot of families are struggling as we go forward, and a couple $100 makes a difference in people trying to afford their home. So, but anyway, so Dave, that's why I was very supportive of that, and I've been consistent with that policy. Even as a Democrat on the Board of County Commissioners, I've supported the rollback millage as long as the same amount of dollars were coming in.
So question for clarification, if we vote on the budget at the .386 rate, do we need to go back and redo the rollback rate then?
You would have to, but we'd have to,
Do a roll call first.
but I'm not sure that, I guess we were given both budgets, weren't we?
Right.
We actually have the trim notice, exactly what the dollars is, because Chris Jones has presented the actual.
I know, but we've already had a motion.
Yeah, it's done. It's a done
Yeah.
deal now.
That's a
Yeah,
done deal.
so I
Yeah,
don't know.
unless someone wanted to make a motion, yeah. I think
Yeah.
Dave was just making a statement. I don't think there's anything we can do at this point. The vote is what the vote is unless, someone made a motion.
Do you have a comment?
And that's what I was trying to ask before you read that, if there's any discussion on this. I didn't realize that that's what I was trying to,
Oh.
so I apologize for not understanding that correctly. So Tammy, that sheet that we worked off of in our finance committee meeting, there were 3 different versions, but it showed the difference. Do you have that in front of you? Because I think the difference is only maybe $1.2 million, I think.
It's in your trim packet.
Is it?
Yeah, the difference is
Yeah,
1.4
it's in-
million. Yes.
Yep.
Well, I guess it's a moot point. I mean, we can move on, but I didn't realize that.
So, I mean, Dave, what, are you trying to make another motion, or you're just making a statement and accepting that this is passed and it's moved on?
Well, that's why I was trying to get clarification earlier. If she read that statement, are we going down that road, or there would be more discussion? But
well,
that kind of got,
The chair asked for discussion before she read the resolution, and no one said anything at that point. A motion that would be in order, if you wanted to have further discussion, would be a motion to reconsider.
You can make a motion to rescind it, and for further discussion, Dave, if you want it. I mean, if that's what you desire, I'm happy to second that. I don't know if you get the votes, but if you want to make a motion to rescind, that action, I certainly would second it.
well, then I make a motion to rescind the previous action by the board with the millage increase that we, well, I can't wait. I voted no on that, so I don't know if I'm allowed to bring that back up.
No, you're on the positive side. If you would have been on the losing side, you couldn't bring it back up, but you're on the winning side.
It wasn't.
He wasn't.
Oh, ooh, you got a problem.
I was on the losing side.
Can't help you, brother.
If anybody else wants to bring
You
it
were on the
up.
losing side.
I'll make a motion to rescind it and have more discussion. But who can second it? You can't second it,
I can't.
and you can't second it, so.
Meredith, I can't second it because I was on the losing side, correct? Well, I mean, I don't know what our rules are, but I know as a county, I could not make the motion. I don't know if I can second it. I can't. Can I second it, Meredith, or can I not?
I'm going to second it to allow some discussion for some clarification, first of all. And my question for clarification, if you look at both resolutions, they're labeled Resolution 2023-21 and Resolution 2023-21. They have the same number. We voted to approve Resolution 2023-21, but did we approve the operating millage rate of 0.3864 or the other one that has an operating millage rate of 0.4365? Since when we voted just now to approve the resolution, we basically approved both of them.
We approved the recommendation from the committee.
Well, I understand, but you asked for a vote on this resolution number 2023-21.
And I read the resolution at the beginning, and this is I read the 0.4365 resolution.
Okay.
For clarification.
But, I mean, Madam Chair, I think that there was a motion in a second on the floor to rescind it. And before further discussion, I would ask that you call for the vote.
Okay. We're calling the vote. All in favor of rescinding the resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
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 Nay. So it's dead because it's even? Correct? We can.
Just raise your hand. She's on.
All right, this is roll call to rescind. Ms. Woods?
No.
Ms. Hightower?
No.
Mr. Peden?
Yes.
Dr. Northup?
No.
Ms. Kane?
No?
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Ms. White? Yes. And that's it. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 noes and 3 yeses. So that would be a pass with a no.
So for a point of clarification, can you reread, Tori, because and so here's what I would ask, Madam Counsel, at a point of clarification, of what she read is what she read, but when the motion was made, it was not clear in the minutes, and if it is, I'd like for that to be stated in the record. Rather, it was .3864, or was it .4365? And in my opinion, it was not clear. Although she read it, the motion did not contain that in the motion. And I'd just like to get a legal opinion if you think that it was.
So for clarity's sake, what the chair read, the resolution did contain the .04, or, yeah, .4365. And that was the recommendation from the committee, and that was what was voted on, was the .4365.
Okay. I mean, in my opinion, it was not stated in the motion. So, but if you're saying it,
It's fine, I guess it's fine, but it was not clearly stated in the motion that was made, so
I just, it's for the point of the record, I just want to say that the motion that was made didn't include that number.
So by statute, she's required to state the proposed millage rate, the tentative operating millage rate, and name of taxing authority, and all that was done at the time of the reading of the resolution.
Thank you, Madam Council.
So now we are moving on to the motion to adopt the resolution adopting the tentative budget. The Budget Committee recommends the board approve the resolution 2023-22 with a 0.435 millage rate.
Move to approve.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote?
All right. Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Ms. Hightower?
Yes.
Mr. Peden?
No?
Dr. Northup?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
No.
Ms. White? Thank you. We have 5 yeses and 2 nos. That passes.
Resolution passes, so I am making a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
We won that one.
Aye. First Alabama, now this. Tough week.
Dude, I already signed up with Colorado, baby.
We are moving on to the Board of Directors meeting. 1 minute? Oh, I'm sorry. 1 minute. Yes, ma'am. If anyone has any public comment, the public comment forms are over here on the desk if you would like to fill one out.
How long do you get to talk? 3 minutes. Yep. Okay, it had the number 5s on it. It was one with the 2 number 5s. Oh. Okay.
Private board comment. Okay. Are we starting? I didn't know. I'm waiting. So we're calling the meeting to order. Good evening. My name is Tori. I'm calling the Board of Directors meeting with the Escambia County Trust to order at 5:31. As a reminder, please turn off all cell phones and put them on silent mode. If you have any public comments, please complete one of the forms on the table to the left of the podium and give to Ms. Alma. Ms. Alma, may we start off with roll call?
Ms. Woods?
Present.
Ms. Hightower?
Here.
Mr. Peden?
Here.
Dr. Northup? Here. Mr. Leonard? Ms. Kane?
Here.
Commissioner May? Here. Ms. White? And Judge Harris. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Commissioner May, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Be happy to. Please join me in the pledge to our great country. I pledge allegiance Thank you.
791. Thank you, Commissioner May. If anyone has time to review the agenda, may I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And next, may we have approval of the minutes?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are moving on. The staff recommends the board approve the minutes. I did that, sorry. Look here.
Treasurer.
Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Just for our folks in the audience, maybe watching or at home or in the audience, we have this on our website. All the financials are posted within our board packet. Ms. Ann Abrams does a very good job with our finances. Every check and every detail of our balance sheet is on there every month. And the board receives this as well. And we have a finance committee that meets to go over operations too. So that being said, I just want to say that the financial highlights are in your packet. We are at 83% of our fiscal year right now and 14% budget on expenses. And if there's any questions about our budget today, we'd entertain them. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved, Ms. Reed.
Second.
Motion second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the strategic plan update. Ms. Mona is here to present.
Oh, I see what you're doing. What is this is a test, I think, and I'm failing. So right here. It's not like- Where's the Mac? Is this my Mac?
Okay, thank you. I apologize. So, hello. I'm here today to give you a update on the process and the progress we're making on the strategic planning process. This is a milestone update, meaning I'm going to go through what our assignment was, what we are going to be delivering, and the process, the research process we have gone through thus far in getting us to the delivery date of the strategic plan in October. So again, the intention here is to take you through the milestones. Just for a reminder, we were engaged to create a 3-year strategic plan that will advance Escambia County's trust to the next level of development. The deliverables that we will be delivering in October include an identity map, an identity narrative, and an integral strategic plan. So just so everyone is, I know you've seen this before, but just so we're all on the same page. An identity map basically explains in multiple layers who this organization is, where it's going, and how it wants to be perceived by the marketplace. Additionally, we look at the organization within the operating context, meaning competition, looking at the customers, economy, trends, et cetera. So this basically is a statement that says this is who we are, this is what we believe, this is where we're going, and this is how we want to be seen by the marketplace. Much like individuals, if you're not clear about that, you're not likely to get from point A to point B. This is the outline of the integral strategic planning model. I won't belabor the details of this except to say that this is, when we say integral strategic plan, what we mean is that this is a plan for getting you from where you are to where you want to go, integrating both the organizational aspects of this group as well as the brand aspects of it. So it is about getting clear about who you are and where you want to go. Equally important is the importance of telling your story in a way that responds to the audience's to whom you are responsible. So a little bit about process. As we approached the work with the trust, it was important for us to understand where this organization is in its developmental curve. Every organization has a process of development. This organization is clearly in what we define as a startup stage, in its infancy. Thus, the type of strategic plan that is created for a startup or infancy group is different than one that's been around for 20 and 30 years. Because remember, the only purpose of a strategic plan is to move you up this process, to move you toward that vision you have and move you through development. So this is a kind of development model that we look at. So what have we done to get the information we need in order to inform the plan that we will be presenting in October? Data points, simply stated, are the places that we got information, what we did to inform the recommendations that we are going to make. The design team consisted of your internal leadership, as well as a representative, Tori Woods, your chair, represented the board on that committee. They served as a steering committee. They served as kind of a feedback to us as we've moved through this process, and were very, very helpful in helping orchestrate a lot of the work that we did as far as getting people together, et cetera. So we started with an internal design team meeting, briefing them on what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, and engaging them and helping us figure out the various groups that we needed to hear from. The second thing that we did is we conducted a leadership survey, meaning a survey to the board as well as to the internal leadership team. The third step in this process was gathering data from the leadership dialogue. This consisted again of the board and the internal leadership team. The purpose of this was to get the perspectives from the leadership about where you are. What are your strengths right now? What are the opportunities? What are your aspirations? What are the results you're looking for? So this data became foundational to a lot of the additional work that we did over the subsequent months. That information was analyzed and synthesized using thematic analysis in order to identify key themes that emerged. Remember, going back to that identity map, going to the strategic areas of focus, looking at what did we learn, and then moving from there to a stakeholder dialogue that we held in Bayview Community Center. These were the attendees that attended that meeting, another data point to help, again, clarify who is this organization, what do we need to focus on in order to move the organization to the next level. The next thing we did is we held 3 town hall meetings, one in Molino, one at Brownsville, and one at the Tower and Branch Library. So those 3 dialogues, again, engaged people in providing input that informed the report that we will be presenting in October. From there, all the data was organized and synthesized. That identity map that we shared with you, started to create themes around that. And then strategic priorities, meaning what are the things this organization needs to focus on in order to move it in the direction that it needs to go. So at this point, we took all of that information, we created some draft themes and draft priorities. We met with the internal design team and went through everything that we have learned. Thus far, we created an above-the-line strategic draft of the strategic plan, and then in August, we finalized some of those themes. From there, we took a draft, what we call the first draft of the plan and the identity map. We met individually with board members so that we could get their additional input on, do you think we were headed in the right direction? Is there anything here we're missing? Is there anything else we need to look at? So we've met with all of the board members except for Commissioner May, whom we will meet with tomorrow. So we're very pleased for that piece that we were able to meet with, most of the board meetings. I know, Judge, we've had a little bit of a hard time, but we did send you the report. So if you have anything in writing you want to share, we would be happy to hear that. So where do we go from here? We will, by the 13th of September, we will draft the strategic plan, put it in the second draft version of this. We will review it again with the design team. We will send that out to the board members individually for any final comments that they might want to make. And then by the 10th, we will have that ready for presentation to the full board. So that has been the process that we've been through, working very hard to ensure we get voices in the room that inform what we're doing. I'm very pleased with the clarity that we have been able to see through this process. It has been a long process, but I'm very pleased and very thankful to the staff for helping us stay on track as we've moved through this. And to you, the board, we appreciate the opportunity to contribute to what we believe is very important work with no room for failure, right? So thank you very much. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ms. Mona. Any questions from the board? No
Thank you.
question? Thank you. Next on the interim executive report.
Thank you and good evening. Let me get this up here. Okay, I have a brief report tonight. Our fiscal year ends on September 30th, and I thought it was important that we answer some of these questions about what we do and what we have done for our community. So I want to start off with a mission moment. I remind everybody that our mission is that all children in Escambia County will have better lives and greater opportunities because of the work that we do and our partners. So, as part of that, I wanted to focus on what we've done this fiscal year. So from October 1st of 2022 through July 31st, we've entered into 24 contracts with community providers. We have awarded $7,462,422 in grants to those 24 providers. It took a while for some of our providers to get started. They were doing summer programs, out-of-school programs. So funds paid so far to those providers are $1,267,138.60. We have 5 contracts for mental health supports on this agenda. If those 5 contracts are paid, our total funding awarded this year will exceed $9.5 million if those 5 contracts are awarded. Now, more important is the children. Our children we have served so far. Children's Home Society at Pine Forest High School has served 848 students with 3,020 services and referrals. Community Health in Northwest Florida, their dental van was updated with new up-to-date equipment and got an additional dental van out there on the road for those kids. That dental van goes to the schools, and they're able to service the children right there at the schools. Early Learning Coalition had match funding that allowed an additional 200 children to obtain school readiness vouchers. Our out-of-school time providers served 692 students through the summer programs, and this number will be over 900 once all the quarterly reports are submitted. Legal Services of Northwest Florida got their expanded representation of Children for Children in Need program staffed and has started their public education about this program. So Epps Christian, they're one of our providers. They had 50 students enrolled in their summer program. All of these students received breakfast, lunch, and weekend food boxes that they took home. They saw an improvement in the assessment scores between beginning reading level from 35% to 50%, and beginning math from 48% to 55%. That doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at a 4-week program, that is a lot. Dixon After Hours, they had 66 students participating in theirs. These students produced Shrek the Musical. As you can see their picture right there, the students demonstrated increased confidence, more disciplined behavior at school. They got food, they had breakfast and lunch at school too, and they had transportation taking them to and from the school. SALT. SALT is here today. They have asked to speak, so they will be coming up. But they had 20 students participate in their summer program, and 15 of those students attended their LEADS academic retreat in Washington, D.C. That was, LEADS means leadership, empowerment, advocacy, discipline, and strength. This agency is one who can show us what we can do with a little bit of money and a lot of volunteers. CMB Visions. They had 66 students in their summer program. They got breakfast, lunch, and they got to go on one field trip a week. These children got to go places that they normally wouldn't have the opportunity to go to. They saw increased reading levels on their attendees during that time. And then I just want to close it with our important dates for our board members to remember. September 26th, we have a Finance Committee meeting at 8 a.m., an Executive Committee meeting immediately following the Finance Committee, and our final trim hearing at 5:01. We have to have a quorum for that meeting, so it's critical that you're all there. And then October 10th will be our next board meeting at 9 a.m. So I can take any questions if anybody had any.
Any questions? No questions. Thank you, Ms. Tammy. Now we are moving on to public comment regarding the action items. I do have 3 public comment speaker forums. Mr. Hills.
Evaluation of all the money and the programs that you're doing. The pictures are nice, you know, and it does look like we are doing a lot of stuff.
I don't have a form for you, I'm sorry.
I gave it,
That was for the first meeting. Did she have a second form?
I guess this, I filled about 3. There's none of them. Sorry about that. How many minutes to get to speak?
3 minutes.
Okay, so anyway, I just want to make some comments on, I think it is a nice presentation, very informative on the math grades being increased and the reading being increased in 4 weeks. I'm not trying to be confrontational, but I do have an education degree and a nursing degree. I find
Please,
that...
ma'am, please speak in the microphone so the people at home can hear
I'm
you.
sorry.
Thank you.
I find that incredible because I'm worried about our school systems. And if we can do this with this program in 4 weeks, we need to start looking at all the schools in Escambia County. And we need to start getting those students up in their math grades in English. Now I teach at Pensacola State College, and I have students that struggle, and they are in college. So I don't know, you know, I just want to know, I guess, the ultimate question would be, how do you exactly evaluate what you're doing, the money that you're spending? You know, are we going to look at it every year? I just would like, I think taxpayers want a little bit more concrete, I guess, evidence. So that's all I have to say, unless you have a question for me.
No, and thank you, and that's remarkable. If you can improve math and reading skills in 4 weeks, I mean, absolutely, we need to duplicate that, particularly in the schools in my district. I mean, that's an amazing feat.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hills with Youth Left Behind. Yes. And I have Ms. Bryant next, and then Pastor Tinsdale. Hi.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody on the board. Glad everybody can make it. My name is Hassan Hills, and I'm founder and director of Youth Left Behind, a nonprofit here in Escambia County, where I work with children of the low-income, underserved community. And I just hope that you guys take into consideration that the proposals and the grants that they have voted to award, it would mean so much to the kids that I serve. Without having any funding for the past 2 years, I received a little bit of funding from vetted organizations, the Escambia County Sheriff Department, the County Commissioner District 2, Mike Collier, Navy Federal, Walmart, Five and Below. And I just believe that if I can be a grassroots and get money from these type of organizations, that this Children's Trust could follow suit and do the same to help me better serve the people. We just got us a van donated from the Escambia County Sheriff Foundation. We got liability insurance. We have a building that was gifted for 1 year, no rent, no lights, no water, all this for free. We have a staff that 75% of them is donating in-kind time, and we want to start small and be effective. We want to start small and grow to where we can see results in the children of Escambia County, in particular the Montclair area, Marino Court, where it's well needed at. So I believe that after everything is said and done, we will see a change in the recidivism rate of those returning to juvenile. We will see a better chance of them being more likely to succeed. And once you get people in front of them with lived life experiences that can connect with them, then they can be reached right where they're at. We just started continuing care to where children from AMI Kids Boys Base, we go there once a week. We have it now to where they get to leave and go work. We got 4 people that partner with us. So while they're in juvenile system, once they get done with school, from 4:30 to 9:30, they can go get a job. And then they can save all that money and come home, and they're more likely to be successful and not return. So I just ask that you guys just take that into consideration, the work that not just I'm doing, but collectively, all the organizations, because we all fit in one space to perform a puzzle to make everything come to pass, and that's the betterment of the children of Escambia County. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant?
Good evening. I am Trakina Bryant. I'm the property manager at Solarium Pond Apartments. I'm coming to you for Youth Left Behind. I have gifted the building for this organization, and just over the past few weeks, I have seen a major difference just in my own complex with the kids there. They look forward to coming. He talks about everything as far as gun violence, empowerment, getting jobs, anything you can think of. Just if they need help, they know they can call him at any time. They look forward to it. And I feel that funding this group, this one in particular, this would be a start of something that would turn into something major. I feel like there's not another group like this out there at this time. And I'm in full support of it. We can't wait to see what's to come next. Solarium Pond, I mean, that's the foundation of it right now, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Tinsdale?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, our program is Steps to Success, and we do want to thank you for giving us the opportunity this year to start working with our children. We started the program in April, and we had a very successful summer, and that the children were provided with mentors as well as certified teachers. They had academic activities which were geared towards STEM, and they were also involved with gardening, nutrition, health, as well as robotics. We were happy to be able to have the kids involved with robotics. They really enjoyed that. Also during the summer, we were able to take the children on field trips, which also included taking them to museums so that they could be enriched. The children were fed breakfast, lunch, and they were able to take back weekend boxes home. Our children came from the Oakwood Terrace as well as Pensacola Village. We transported the children early mornings, picked them up at 7 and took them back at 2 o'clock. So that was our summer. Now we're working with the children on Saturdays. And the children really warms my heart because when we pick them up and we feed them, they're really hungry, you know, and we feed them wholesome lunch meals, fried chicken, and they, like I said, they really, really appreciate what we do for them in that. When I pick them up, you know, they're glad to get on the bus. They're waiting at 7 o'clock in the mornings on Saturday mornings. Normally, children, you know, want to sleep in on weekends, but they're waiting for us. And I'm thankful for the mentors and the teachers that really work with them. And I appreciate it because I tell everyone I'm 71, and for me to give back and see the children loving what we do for them, I get a lot out of it. Questions?
Oh, ma'am. Thank you. No other public comment. We are moving on to the executive search update. As the chair of the committee met on August 24th and directed staff to obtain at least 3 quotes from vendors for recruitment of a new executive director. Staff only received 2 quotes. Ms. Abram can provide us with details on those quotes.
Yes, we did send out requests to 17 different companies, and we received 2. One was Landrum. They will do the search for $25,000, and they guarantee for the first 45 days. If the executive director leaves in 45 days, then they will do another search for free. The other one was from Slavin Management Consultants. They are located in Georgia. They were slightly less. They were $24,500, but they will have the interviews for the clients in Hattiesburg. So, but they do guarantee for 2 years. So that would mean board members that wanted to interview would need to travel to Hattiesburg or to do some discussion with them about changing that. I don't know how that would change their bid. So.
Tammy, I noticed that reference to Hattiesburg, and have we confirmed that that's truly where they're going to do it, as opposed to, I noticed that one of their prior clients for several positions has apparently been in Hattiesburg, and did they simply leave that in their cut and paste letter of response?
We have not yet. We did not contact them due to the quote being received. We didn't want to contact them until after you guys had talked about it.
Okay. I had wondered about that location.
Yes. So they do have the 2-year guarantee on theirs. If the executive director leaves within 2 years, they'll do a new search. And their cost was $24,513.
So the next steps would be if the board would like to continue to get quotes. I know there have been community people that have also offered assistance to help with this search as well.
There have been community people that have offered to, if we do the search ourselves, to go through resumes and to start conducting preliminary interviews. And so.
Any discussion from the board?
Madam Chair, I certainly have a reluctancy, you know, within, 24 months to expend another $25,000 of taxpayer dollars on a search. their goodwill, their good services. I mean, we have people like Ted Kirscher and people that do this for a living, that's worked at Landrum, that work at the city. I certainly, only said Ted's name because he and I have not had any communication. But, many times when we hire at the county level for positions, we pick a search committee and, appoint that committee, and that committee brings it back to the board in their goodwill to the community. They do the vetting, they bring recommendations, and bring it back. I mean, I certainly be open to that. I mean, if there's someone here that supports that. If not, I mean, certainly if you want to go back with Landrum, they're my friends. So, I mean, I don't have an issue with them, and they're good community supporters. But I certainly think that we've been through it. I think in the beginning, we didn't know what we were getting into. I think each of us in our board position certainly understand what we expect in a leader for this organization. So I'm very open to the idea of board members being able to recommend people to serve on a search committee, whether that's 5 people or 7 people, without costing the tax. I think that the reason I did not vote to go with the higher millage rate is because there is some reluctancy among taxpayers, exactly the stability of the trust at this time. And so I think that we need to earn goodwill back with the community, to the taxpayer who are paying these taxes. So I would love to have more community input in terms of who we select as our next executive director, because most of us will be moving off this board in 12 to 24 months, but the community will still be here. So that's kind of my statement, and I'll yield the floor to my colleague to get other opinions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I would agree with Commissioner May, and I've gotten permission that Ms. Appleyard has offered to help lead a search committee, and she has done this before. She knows exactly where to send the resumes, to send the idea of what we want. She knows who, like Indeed, and she knows exactly who to send that out to, because she has what Landrum used last time. And so we love Landrum. They did a great job last time. But Ms. Appleyard has offered, and we know her work ethic, and we trust her completely. And so that would be my vote, to have Ms. Appleyard to help lead a search committee for us.
I didn't know that we were going to be talking about people, but I agree with you, Commissioner May. I think that we've done the national search, and this does not preclude national people applying, but I believe that we can get it done faster if we create a committee.
And Pat, I want for the record, and Ted Kirscher is a good friend. He did in our initial strategic planning.
Yes, he
was
did.
a person, and I've not had any communications with him.
I've heard that he's interested in helping.
Okay, yeah, and I think that he did a fine job and gave us some good direction, and he's done this multiple times, and I would think that each of us could recommend someone and vote whatever number we come up with. But I have a great deal of respect for Ted Kirscher and his ability to get it, as well as Carolyn Appleyard, who helped lead this organization for a long time. And full disclosure, I did talk to Carolyn, so I mean, that's why I used Ted's name instead of Carolyn.
Point of clarification at this point, is there a motion before us as a group, or is this just general discussion?
I was just having a discussion. I didn't know the will of the board to make,
Okay.
I'm happy to make a motion, but.
Well, while we're on general discussion, I would bring up the ideas. We've got a room full of folks here, and we've talked about before on said search committee that perhaps the consideration of soliciting input of a couple of our constituents from the community who may feel inclined to participate and have an opinion on qualities to look for and that type of thing. I just throw that out again as part of the general discussion.
I mean, if I was to make the motion, Dr. Northrup, I mean, I certainly would include that. I think that we've had some growing pains. I think we are at a crossroad in this organization in earning our credibility back. When you lose your leader, your director, and probably your number 2 person who's your compliance person and sending a letter of recommendation, I think that it causes for pause and it causes for community input. And certainly, I mean, to travel fast without stability, to me, is reckless. And, you know, I'm not going to be a part of a reckless organization where we just passed a trim notice that's taking grandmama's money, paying ad valorem taxes for organizations without making sure that we bring about stability to an organization. And I think having community input of those community leaders, as you said, brings about a lot of stability. And I don't disagree with you that the end users should be also eligible to be a part of that selection committee, and I could be very supportive of that, Dr. North.
So do we have a motion?
I'm happy to, I don't know, Patty, unless you want to make it.
I have another question. Because if you make the motion, would the search committee then bring back to us a timeline for this to occur? Or do we want to think about that?
I mean, the way, I mean, Patty, I'm open. I mean, but what I would think that each member of this board would have an opportunity to at least recommend one person or two people to be, and then it would be a vote. And then with that, once it's appointed, they would bring back to us a timetable and a schedule, just like we would require of Landers or anybody else.
Okay, so if you make the motion and we'll be given a certain length of time to give a person's name in, that means we would not constitute a committee until next month.
Absolutely.
Correct? Okay.
I mean, I would think that at the next meeting, we would all bring them, because I think we need to vet and talk to people. I mean, we've openly said, as I've just thrown out Ted Kirsch's name on television, I've not personally talked to him, and as Stephanie said, she's talked to Carolyn, and, you know, I'm sure many of us have talked to Carolyn because she's so intimately involved, but I think that everybody deserves an opportunity to bring, because each of us represent different segments of the community in different ideologies and different positions. And so on that search committee, I think that it should, quite frankly, it should bring about diversity. Diversity in race, gender, age, demographics, and economics. I think that that's critical, and that's what we represent on this board. So, I mean, tonight to say that we're going to create 5 names or 7 names, I think would be not responsible. So with that being said, I'd make a recommendation, Madam Chair, that Carolyn hold her hands up.
Ms. Carolyn, is this true? Yes. Are you putting you on the spot?
I just want to clarify, I think what we, and I mean we, me and Ted and a couple of others, to do that initial screening and get those resumes in. The final selection is going to be up to the board.
Absolutely.
But get it narrowed down to the 3 to 5 people. That's what we think we can help make happen without putting the total burden on the staff, although there's certainly some things because they've got some mechanics in place. So just to be clear, this would not be to make the selection. We already have a job description that you all would need to polish and say, is this appropriate now? We have some pieces that we used 2 years ago. So we're not starting from scratch. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, Carolyn, and that was my hope.
Could you stay there just 1 minute? Because I think what I heard you say is there wouldn't be a need for particularly a committee to vet all of these? Or what would you say would be a number?
Whoever is really willing to read the resumes.
Okay.
I mean, that to me is the thing. It is always more work than you think. So if they're really committed to screening them and doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. And Carolyn, thank you, and I appreciate it. And that was my vision, that you guys would recommend, 3 to 5 people to this board, and, and then the board will make the final decision. I mean, for those who have the responsibility, should have the authority. So, I mean, I would make a recommendation, Madam Chair, and I'm certainly open to any amendment, that at our next meeting, that each board member is allowed to recommend one person to serve on the search committee. Before I make the motion, David, your personnel, I lean to you. Would this committee be 5 or 7? And so I know that you've done this more than one time.
That
So
would be me.
I'm not personnel.
Oh, you're Tori. Well, you hire a lot of people.
But before, I don't want to lose 30 days. And I think that we can, I vision it, we get the job out there, and then all the resumes come in, go to our attorney's office. And then when this is going on, a committee could be formed.
Absolutely.
By Ms. Alpiard and some other community folks who want to participate. And then
Yeah, we got time to, yeah, I agree with that, Dave. We got time to form the committee. I mean, I would be,
But I'd like to see
amend
it,
that.
get that job description updated if needed, and then get it out there.
Do you think there's a need to
while we're
update it? I
working.
mean, I kind of agree with Ms. Appleyard that we have it, but do you feel like
Yeah,
it needs to be
I don't see
updated?
anything personally different from what,
I mean, I don't see any point in updating it, David, personally, unless it's something
I
that
don't-
you see.
I don't either.
Okay, I mean, so I'd amend that motion, that we immediately direct the attorney, to post the job. And I think we would use the same criteria as the posting previously in terms of salary and benefits. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm good with that.
And in the meantime, by the next meeting, that we would have a recommendation, to form the, committee, the evaluation committee, to go. And each person would be able to recommend someone. I just don't know if the number should be 5 or 7.
And one other question is, because I'm with you, I didn't want to waste all that time, that 30 days. So when do you want the applications to be in? If you're asking her to post it, how long will we advertise for?
I mean, I know we want to move fast, but you got to at least leave that thing out there 45 to 60 days. I mean, for a position of this, I mean, because there are going to be people who have jobs. I mean, you can't expect for them to turn this around in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. In my opinion, it should be a minimum of 45 days for an executive position, because once it, this is a pretty important position. So that would be my number, Patty. Dave, do you have any?
No, I think people procrastinate and they look at a long date, they'll wait to the last minute to get it in. I'd like, I don't mind.
I don't wanna go 30,
I'd
I'd
like
go 45.
4 weeks is, I think, enough time for somebody to make up their mind to send in their resume, but I'm open. I mean, I'm not.
30 to 45 days, in my opinion.
And then, point of clarification, so your proposal is to have us come back and say, we want to have so-and-so on the committee, and then they're going to go through the resumes to see if they are qualified, and then they'll come to us with the 10 people that are qualified, and we'll do like we did last time, and we'll interview.
Right.
Gotcha.
That's what you want.
Also, for clarification, you are proposing, or Dave did, as far as, I've heard Caroline's name mentioned, and I've also heard our general counsel, they will be working together to note and develop where these, or where the job posting will take place and how and that type of thing? Okay.
Correct. I think we're going to have to, I think we have to have the attorney and Carolyn involved because we didn't know where we're posting it.
Well, and Carolyn was involved last time when Landrum posted it, so we love Meredith. I don't know if it's Meredith's forte is to post
Meredith may be a little
jobs.
more expensive than Carolyn.
Well, I don't know if that's what she wants to, post
Well,
jobs.
I thought we were
think
going to
that's more for
double
Carolyn.
Caroline's salary.
Well, I wanted the resume to go to her office. She doesn't have to be the one.
Yeah, Carolyn can post it because we really don't want to put that minute
Whatever the
on
PO
Meredith. I
box
mean,
is, or-
at her level, she shouldn't be doing that. I mean, I think, not that Carolyn's not on her level, but I mean, that's what they do, yeah.
Ms. Carolyn
She's free,
Carolyn
yeah.
volunteered to help us out, yes.
Right, exactly. So, with that being said, that's the motion?
Yes.
Could you repeat the motion?
No, I can't, no. I mean, I had 5 people assisting. So I'll make this motion for point of clarification, that we put out the job description immediately based on the venues that Carolyn and Meredith decide, send it out. Resumes will do within the next 45 days, and at our next meeting, everyone has the ability to recommend someone, and we will select a search committee between 5 and 7 people. Unless someone wants to clear someone.
I would amend it to 30 days.
Fine, it's fine with me.
I would clarify what search committee means as well. Sorry.
What was that?
I would clarify what search committee means. Does search committee mean that they're going to review the resumes, or does that mean they're actually going to do the interviewing?
Well, how many board members want to serve on the search committee? I will too. I mean,
willing
that
to do
takes
so.
up, if we're doing 7.
Well, if 3 of y'all want to
Yeah.
serve, we might as well be the, I mean, I would just say, like, why wouldn't we let this committee just review and send us 10 names and all of us serve on that search committee?
Sure.
So that committee will send us 10 names and then we will all serve as a search committee.
Okay.
They'll be the evaluation committee and they'll send us 10 names and then we'll serve as the search committee and narrow it down.
My,
I don't know.
okay, for point of
So you
discussion,
had
I'm going
a
to
motion
second
and-
your
and a-
motion.
And a minute motion for 30 days by Ms. Hightower.
I accept her friendly amendment for 30 days.
All right.
Okay, so second it for the point of generating some further discussion. One point being, I'm going to go back to what I had initially asked about and that we spoke about, Lumen, was the question of the individuals interested from our constituents who may not be among the 10 names that we come up with. Are we going to be taking offers or volunteers or whatever to call Ms. Ellis, or is it just going to be the 10 names that we come up with from the general public, or how's that part going to be dealt with, or do you propose, or does anyone propose dealing?
I'm open to whatever friendly amendment you want to offer, Dr. Northup. I mean, I would think that, you know, it's 12 of us or 11 of us on the board, that we would, 9, yeah, however many, I don't know. I don't come to a lot of meetings. That we could recommend someone, but I would expect that as we go through the process, that we would make sure that stakeholders get the opportunity to interview and meet the candidates as we did on the first time. But I'm open to any amendment you want to make, Doc.
No, I'm just wanting clarity in that we do involve our constituents, and as mentioned, the people whose money this actually is and who this organization exists to benefit, that they have at least the opportunity, if they desire,
Right.
perhaps go to our webpage and submit something there, or however the staff would recommend would be an easy way to, without overburdening anyone, that if someone is interested, that they would at least have that opportunity to.
Absolutely. I think we should all take input, but we represent the people. I mean, Coach Stephanie. And, you know,
They could also come to the meeting and do the 3 minutes and have this time to speak there.
Okay.
and hopefully we're representing, I mean, for me, I don't take anything personal. I'm going to represent the wishes of my constituents, period. You know, and so I hope, hopefully we all do that. So I do have a motion, Madam Chair, on the floor.
We have a second,
Dr. Norton?
and we've had this, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. So we are on to the next agenda item, the Executive Director's Contract. Personnel Committee recommends the Board approve the interim Executive Director's contract effective until such time as the new Executive Director is in place. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have discussion? Any discussion? No discussion, no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We now have a recommendation from Ms. Abrams.
You're going to see in your packet a letter from our auditors. We had Brown, Thornton, and Pacenta. They have withdrawn as our auditors. So I have an invitation to bid for audit services here. It is very late in the year. Our fiscal year ends on September 31st. So we were trying to get these done and out with giving them a 2-week turnaround to get the submission back to us. One thing that we changed due to feedback from the prior auditors was instead of having the audits due within 3 months, having them due within 6 months. We have 9 months, according to the state, to have those done. It takes at least a month after our fiscal year ends to have our books closed. Our grantees have 1 month to get all their invoices submitted to us for the month of September. So we would like to give them for 6 months after October. So, I'm sorry, 6 months after fiscal year. So I'm just looking for a recommendation. I'm just recommending that you guys approve this ITB for audit services.
Move the recommendation to the ITB for audit services.
Second.
Tammy, was there, yeah, thank you. Was there any reason why they withdrew? Was it a conflict of interest or just workload? Why did they withdraw, or did they not give an explanation?
So Their original explanation was because the time period was too tight to meet. So when I asked them if they would stay if we dropped the time period, the response was no, due to recent events, we're withdrawing. They didn't clarify.
Oh, wow, imagine that. Interesting.
Any discussion? Other discussion? No more discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we have Ms. Adrian on the agenda again to discuss the new lease agreement.
Okay, so this lease agreement with Pensacola State College is set to go in front of their board at the next month. So I brought it to you guys so that we could see before they got it there, if you guys were okay with it. We have two changes. Shared space is going to be room 180, and room 179 would be one of the office spaces. It's on the first page of the lease agreement. What we're looking to do is we are currently in 500 square feet, and we have actually ended up spreading a couple of our staff out into other spots that are not connected to the regular office space because we don't have enough office space. We have identified 3,884 square feet in Building 1 on the college campus that will give us a big meeting room and a training room that we can hold trainings for our community providers in. So they have offered us $10 a square foot, which is a very good lease rate. That includes all of our utilities and our telephone and janitorial. We looked all around the community, and we could not find anything else even close to that rate. So I am recommending and asking for approval to enter into negotiations with this lease. It's going up to 3,800.
And with this new space, you're looking to use like a conference room with technology that are training our nonprofit.
Yes,
Explain a little
so
bit
our
of that, yeah.
training room is going to be set up with, and we put it into the budget. So part of the line item in the budget was money to outfit both of these rooms. So conference room would be set up where we could hold board meetings there if we want to, but we could have like our grant committees, our finance committee, all these things there. We'll have the technology in the rooms where we can have them broadcast like we need to. We'll have the cameras, the mics. Our training room will be set up with 11 different stations. So we can have a trainer in there and 10 people at a time. We'll have the training in there for SAMUS and other software, and then also for other community providers. They can come in and use the software, the computers, to do searches for other funding and stuff like that that we'll have available for them.
Madam Chair, our attorney reviewed this lease, right? Because I'd like to figure out a way that we always know that it's been reviewed. I mean, that the district, our attorney signs off on things, so we know that they've reviewed them.
So you good with it, Meredith?
Any other discussion?
I move approval.
Second.
No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I'm sorry, was that Pete moved and Lumen, you said?
Moving on to programs portion of the meeting, we have Ms. White with a recommendation from the Grants Review Committee.
So, yes, the grant committee met about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we had 5 people in the grant committee, and we all reviewed them, all the grants. We had 13 grant proposals, and we came out and we have 5. We all came out with 5 on the top. And so our meeting only lasted a little over an hour. It was a very short grant review meeting. And we have recommending 5 organizations. As you can see, they're in the resolution 2023-20. So, yeah, she behind the pink sheet of paper, and there are different proposal aspects that Dr. Krupa came up with. Since we've met, Dr. Krupa has announced that she is resigning from her post as the grant and program director. So the recommendation is that we approve the resolution authorizing the interim executive director to enter into this agreement for these 5 providers for a total of $2,046.80, $2,046.80 to provide mental health services to the children and youth of Escambia County as presented. So before we discuss it, I'll have the recommendation and see if there is any discussion on that for a second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, and I apologize for not making quorum for the program committee, which is certainly my fault, where we could have certainly reviewed these, and I think most of these are worthy. I think that we made a lot of haste in awarding grants, and we found ourselves in a peculiar position. Unfortunately, our executive director is gone. Our programs manager is gone. The auditor has given us multiple reasons why they have resigned or no longer taking the contract, although I can be supportive of each of these organizations that you have. I think that from what I've heard from the people that I represent, that we got to stabilize the ship. I certainly don't believe in continuing to pile things on top of things. That we're going to have a new executive director, we're going to have someone to replace Kim, we're going to have a new auditor, and so although the mental health of our children is critical to me, I would not vote to not approve any of these, but I certainly would support tabling these until we stabilize our staff and stabilize our auditor position, because we have a responsibility of stewardship. And if I was the average citizen now, with an auditor leaving with no excuse, without an executive director, without your compliance person, as a citizen, I couldn't in good faith, Madam Chair, say that this organization is stable. And so I think that we first have to stabilize our ship before we add any other thing to it, Stephanie. And so that's just my personal opinion and what I've heard from the constituents. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Can I speak, Commissioner? Hi. Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. So my communication to Ms. Abrams is that I would like to step down, but that I am willing to serve in the interim. And so the specific tasks I would be working on are the monitoring, the contract reports that are due December 31st for our 24 current contracts, and then standing up these 5 contracts. So I'm not going anywhere. I don't have another job. I'm just wanting to take a step back, but I can definitely work on closing out some of these projects and getting them started. I also wanted to point out that we have 2 new FTE for a total of 5, and our peer over in Leon only has 4 FTE, and they're handling 49 contracts. So I think 29 contracts are perfectly within the purview of our staff, and they do have capacity to handle monitoring and compliance. And we've already talked about that internally.
Thanks.
So I wouldn't want my announcement to hold up the excellent work of these providers.
Absolutely, certainly don't want to hold it up, but I mean, the unfortunate thing is, and probably in front of everybody's name, it's called an interim. And, that's unfortunate. I mean, whether it's perceived or whether it's real, there's going to be interim in front of people's name. And so for perception of stability, I still remain with that position. But certainly, thank you, Kim. I mean, I appreciate your work, and certainly thank you for all that you do.
Madam, Dave?
Well, help me understand, if you would, when I see mental health, I think of, I'm going to use old terms, Lakeview Center. I think they changed their name. But, we had the Baker Act issue with West Florida Healthcare, and there's mental health needs of post-traumatic stress disorder. There's other things, but this looks like it's couched under, for instance, one of the proposals had about getting their hair done and feeling, So help me understand. I'm not used to the mental health field at all, but is this a new way of helping with mental health issues?
Yeah, so
Feel
it's all
good?
about community advisors, peers, mentors, faith community. So like that connective tissue and building supports within the most vulnerable communities in Commissioner May's district and also in Century, although we didn't have any highly ranked proposals from Century. And so it's rounding out the whole person. It's funding things that our traditional systems can't fund. They can't fund things like that affect children's mental health, and that we know only about 20% of youth consult formal mental health supports, and it's often a system of last resort like Baker Act. So the purpose of this was informal supports to build mental health capacities, mental health first aid within our most vulnerable communities outside of the formal system.
And how's the metrics of tracking that?
Yes, and each of the 5 that all scored above 96 have specific performance measures that they would track. Everything from, like Mr. Hills had said, reducing recidivism, so youth who are justice involved going back to being justice involved, and also Twin Oaks Project Connect has that as their outcome, to 100% graduation with a post-secondary plan. So certifications, GED programs, ACT and academic tutoring, and then mental health supports in the after-school setting like Boys and Girls Club is proposing, where they're layering on additional programming to their existing Montclair Club based on the behavioral health needs that they're seeing in their population. So we have specific performance measures for these 5 that are all super targeted and catered to their populations in 32501 and 32505.
I have often stated, and go on record yet again, that the 2 biggest areas in pediatric health care in this community are pediatric mental health and pediatric dental health. We'd spoken earlier about the community health acquiring another dental van. I think that's wonderful. Plainly, there are needs for dental health or mental health as well. I have reservations, and this was part of what I had hoped to discuss in our program committee meeting, but that all 5 of these proposals cover the 32505 zip code. 4 of them exclusively mention the 32505 zip code. I'm not denying health care coverage to anyone in any zip code, but I am a bit concerned as I read through all of these that there seems to be a large potential for overlap and duplicity of services among those within the 32505 zip code, and even the target populations mentioned in all of these have some overlap between them. And I wonder about, are they going to be potentially trying to provide much needed services, but to a similar, if not same population? And as was just mentioned, we've got tremendous needs within this county north of I-10 that I don't see represented here at all. And that concerns me as well. So with those 2 things, I would kind of second Commissioner May's thing that perhaps we table this and give a maybe additional consideration, additional look at it, that are we expanding this? Have we gotten the word out to these areas throughout the county? And within, like I said, these 5 that have been brought to us, as I read a lot of this, I'm concerned that all 5 of them are talking about at least a cohort of the same children.
Dr. Northup, this was a targeted RFP only for those zip codes, so they're responding to that target, and it came in well under our 3.5 set aside in our strategic plan, so we very well could reissue this and target, for example, the Lincoln Park area.
And hold. And so, Dr. Norton, thank you for that second. And certainly, I need to apologize because we didn't have a program meeting where this should have been vetted and not to be vetted here. So you're absolutely right of where you're going, Dr. Norton. But that's why I believe it has to be further conversation with our leadership team, because you're right. I get Century, I get the North End, but I also get that the greatest need, where the gun violence is, where the problems are happening, is in 32505, 32501, where the failing schools are located in this geographical area. We're not going to solve all the problem overnight. I mean, we can spread ourselves so thin that we have no impact. And, I have you'll find my support on the North End. But I will tell you that the collateral material, the residents and the communities that they use when they pass this tax, was really based on these kids in 32501, 32502, 32505. And so I'm not, obviously this is very beneficial to the residents that I do serve, but the greatest needs in the failing schools are there. And that's why I do agree, Dr. Northman, it's not prime time, and we should be inclusive. Absolutely. Commissioner Berry is a dear friend. You have a lot of poverty in Century, but we got to laser focus, and we're in the middle. To me, we got SAMIS that we got to get our hands on. We got our strategic plan we got to get our hand on. We got an auditor we got to get our hands on. We got to get our staff, get our hands on, and have a cohesive board. And so that's why, I believe, the grants committee did good. It needs to be, evaluated by the program committee, but we should have these conversations in these subcommittees in finding those targeted areas. So I agree with you, but I would say to you that, we have to solve the problem. And where do you go? To me, you go where the greatest need is. And if that greatest need is in 32505, then let's try to address 32505 and not excluding yours. But I think we could be on the same page in the program committee, Dr. Northman. I know your passion, and I agree with you in mental health. I was a big supporter of community health and the pediatrics and doing that with Lakeview. I'm a big supporter of that. But I do understand, there are other psychological issues that may not be evaluated, by psychologists that we need to do. So I think you and I are on the same page that it needs further deliberation. And thank you so much.
Madam Chair, can I say something else, please? These 5 proposals totaled 610 pages. They worked on this since May when we had a 30-day public comment period. Altogether, they're serving 2,700 unduplicated children, and we have a system in place to make sure that happens through our reimbursement process. So we're not writing blank checks. We are standing up organizations to make sure they do what they say they're going to do according to the performance measures that they submit. We ask them to be targeted in this proposal. So I certainly wouldn't want that to be held against them.
I don't think anybody's holding anything against anybody. I think we just want to take the program committee and have further deliberations.
And our process is that it goes right from the board-appointed review committee to the board. It doesn't go through program committee. It was just on that agenda Friday as an FYI.
Well, I wish someone would have told me that before I wasted my time trying to get to a meeting.
I apologize, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it
because
goes right from review committee to
that
the
really gave a
board.
sense of urgency and really gave me some
Yes, sir, the
anxieties
only
that I didn't show.
item on that Friday board agenda, the only item was the Early Learning Coalition School Readiness Match.
Well, you're right. That's another reason why we probably shouldn't, is maybe we should change that. Well, maybe that's not a good protocol. I mean, because, I'm not coming to a program committee on a Friday just to come and play thumb twiddle. I mean, I can find something else to do.
Thank you. When I read these, I was blown away by these applications. I believe that if they are successful, as they have stated in their outcomes, we will see a significant impact in our community. I also had the same concerns that Commissioner May has about adding additional work on a staff that is dwindling rather than expanding because we put a hiring freeze in place. But I know the committee went to a lot of work. I know the individual groups put in a lot of effort. And since Dr. Krupa has said that she is willing to stay with us and continue the evaluation process, I feel a little better about being able to go on, because I really was concerned that our program evaluation person, basically, I know everybody in the office helps out and doesn't have a specific skill set that can't be expanded to help others. And so they cross-train is what they basically do. And so I understand, Commissioner May, but I really feel like the children in our community are hurting so much right now. I mean, during COVID, they got disconnected from each other. And our suicide rates are up, and I just feel like this is one of those areas where, we need to get started yesterday rather than tomorrow. So I am going to suggest, I would not be able to support your motion to table.
Can I say one more thing, Madam Chair? So Dr. Krupa, you're saying that you're going to stay on to help with these and with the other out-of-school time until we find somebody?
Yes, through the transition.
Okay, and so I did sit on the committee, I read every single grant. These 5, I was so excited about. I know that Mr. Peden, with the hair, but, you say how's that mental health, but when you fix a kid up and you give them the clothes that they can have and you fix their hair, it gives a girl or gives a boy a new self-confidence. And so that's the mental health. The whole proposal, the RFP that we had a chance to review was not for counseling services. And we all had a chance to review that. It was for what was the correct word we used? Not the actual counseling services, but was for stuff that was before you get to counseling services. Sorry, I forgot the exact word that we used in the RFP. And so it was the before we get there. So let's see what we can do to help them, to give them the clothes that they need to help their self-esteem. And so I think, and fix their hair so they can help the self-esteem. And I love a lot of these incorporate so many community partners. They go to the barber shops and they work with the barbers who become mentors to these kids. How exciting is that? I mean, that's so cool to be able to find a mentor for these kids. And so with the fact that Dr. Krupa, is staying on is to help with this, I'm going to have to support the program committee, the grants that we've already approved.
And Stephanie, I 1000% agree. David, I hope maybe we can go out and you can see and engage in that. As an African-American, COVID or not, I'm getting my hair done every 2 weeks. Like, that is a no-brainer, like literally every 2 weeks. And for example, my husband learned to cut his own hair, because his mom could not take him every 2 weeks. So he literally learned to cut because it's a full circle, Deion says you look good, you feel good, and so when those kids go to school or go out in the community, like, it's important. And when you're going to the barbershop every week and every 2 weeks, that's like, those barbers are there to talk to you. And when you're sitting in that chair, it is like counseling. You're talking about your life, you're talking about what's going on, and they're able to share their life experiences. And if you go to barbershop on a Saturday, you're going to be there for a couple hours. So you get to also engage with other men, and a lot of those males don't have that male figure, and so they get to see those men in a positive light, and get that, not just the barbers, but the other men that are there to talk to them and help counsel them. And I mean, it's a full circle, situation and mentoring program. So I'm excited about it as well.
Well, I appreciate that. I think my grappling with it is when this was passed, if we put on there we're going to be providing haircuts for the community, it would not have passed. And so I think if there's a way to dress better and feel good, then you have nonprofits going to Dillard's or Target and getting the business community involved to donate clothing and do that without the taxpayers paying for it. It's like, how expansive do we get with taxpayer monies to do a lot of different things? And I appreciate that. It's a different way that I'm not used to thinking, and that's fine. But I'm going to be supportive of Commissioner May, and I think he's got years of experience on serving on boards, multiple boards in this community. And if we could take a pause and drill down on some of the things, I'd feel more comfortable looking at it.
Madam Chair, let me be very clear. I know probably the majority of the people recommending, I'm supportive of all 5 of them. Oh, yeah. Every last one of them. Now, I don't know if we ought to be paying for haircuts. I mean, I get it, and I don't know, I didn't read that, I mean, it's, that's fundamentally not a governmental responsibility to be paying for kids to do hair. I mean, we have a great philanthropy board. I can just tell you, most of the people here have partners doing school that we partner and we do free haircuts. So I don't even know how we got off on these black folks' hair. I mean, I don't even have
the barbers are mentors, so they are mentoring and doing haircuts.
Yeah, but they're mentoring, but we're not paying them to cut hair.
No,
that's pro bono. I mean, I think that's a bad message to send, that we're paying for somebody to get a haircut. We're not. And the only reason I say, because it's good for all of us, I'm going to be supportive of all 5 of these, whether we vote for them tonight or whether we vote for them next week or whatever. I've been supportive of helping children regardless. I'm saying that we have some house cleaning measures. We have some lack of clarity, and where Dr. North on the north end, where Mr. Peen's gonna learn to Hare that, you know, we should put a pause. It doesn't matter, rather, I mean, that's not stability. I love Kim. That's not stability to have someone resign and turn, and we come to this meeting and say, well, we will stay. That's not, we have to stabilize this organization because we're paying with taxpayer dollars. I think all 5 of these are approved, in my opinion, of what I see. I think we need to stabilize it and take a look at it and put a pause on it. That's me where we are. If that's not support for that, then it's fine for me. You know, I'm happy. You know, I'm going to keep the motion on the floor, just so I will say that as a steward, I voted to stabilize this. If people want to move forward without that, because we made haste. There's no doubt that we have said, if we want to talk about the elephant in the room, we've talked about, even with staff reports, that, you know, there have been compliance issues already. And we know that there's been compliance issues in terms of getting things in, and people have said it's hard to make people comply because they have certain people on their board. I can't make them comply because this person's on their board or this person's doing that. We don't need to put that on top of that. We have those issues, whether we want to talk about those in a public meeting or not. And at some point, we will have to talk about those before we bring an executive director in. And so you shouldn't pile that on when we're having compliance issues, we're having payment issues, we're having reimbursement issues that currently exist. And so,
Can you explain
I
what
don't want to explain.
Okay,
what
because that's
that.
new to me, so I
Yeah,
don't,
yeah,
I want to
but
make sure I know
that
everything
exists.
before
Yeah.
I.
I would implore you to talk to somebody on staff. But I'm good with it. If we're going to move with these 5, or move with 10, it doesn't matter to me. Let's move forward with it. But I believe that we need to stabilize the organization, personally.
I'm with Ms. White. I was not aware of those issues.
Okay.
I mean, I know that it's a learning experience for everybody, and that, so I would encourage the staff that if you're talking to one board member about those
Well,
issues, you need to share the others with the others.
Well, I would encourage, I think individual people talk to individual people.
Just from our staff perspective, these 2 agencies that have current contracts are 100% in compliance and are actually a model for the others. We don't want to tell you all that, but they have their reimbursements in on time, they're active in SAMUS, and we're seeing outcomes.
Do we have a motion and a second in discussion?
Oh, no, I'm good either way.
Didn't you make a motion to table or to postpone? Didn't you make that motion?
Oh, yeah, that motion's on the floor.
And didn't you second it, Dr. Northrup?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
So there is a motion on the floor.
Any other discussion? They can't speak until. Oh, ma'am. So we have a
let me be
motion.
clear, my motion is not to deny anyone from getting funded. It was just to table that.
So your motion is to table the vote,
It needs to postpone.
postpone.
Because
Yeah,
if you table,
postpone.
you kill it.
Yeah, postpone, yeah.
And we've had discussion. All in favor of postpone?
Aye.
Can you restate your motion, please?
I move that we just, I don't know if table means canceling, in my interpretation, that we just postpone the vote on this mental health issue until we stabilize and get a permanent executive director.
Did you second that?
I'll second it.
Excuse me, I have a question, I'm sorry.
We can't have public comment during,
Well, should we get to, does anyone, he wanted to say something,
we can't have public comment during,
so we can't comment
No,
on this
ma'am.
item?
no, ma'am.
About mental health, we can't?
No, ma'am. So we have a second, any more discussion on postpone? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. So it fails. So we are, Stephanie, are you making the motion?
Go back to the same motion, the recommendation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, I'm making a motion that we approve those 5. And Dr. Northrup, I certainly would be open, because I know that these 5 are in my district. I'd be open to coming back and supporting you in the north end of the county. But I certainly would move to support these. And Dr. North, just for the record, I think that this is the greatest need in this district. And I think that eventually we get to the north end. But the problems that we're having is in Montclair. The problem that we're having is in Oakwood Terrace and in Addis Court. So that's why, you know, it would be important to me to support these, but without excluding you. And if you brought back something for Century or the north end, I'd be supportive of that as well.
No, I appreciate that, and likewise, Dr. Krupa, I very much appreciate your clarification, explanation of the focused area of the 32503 zip codes. And as I say, I would love to see this type of service expanded to many areas throughout our.
And I would say, Dr. North, the pockets of poverty, when you see the hot map, these areas that we're supporting
Yes.
are the pockets of poverty. I know you have in Century, and so these have the highest crime, the highest delinquency, and the lowest educational achievements. And so that's, in my opinion, is why these programs are important to get them off. And hopefully, we take this model in 32505 and we build off of it, and it's successful, and we take this model to the north end, or we take this. I mean, listen, I get it. You know, someone today said to me, is one of the reasons I had the table, is that, you know, you forgot about Warrenton in 32507 that Commissioner Kohler represents. We can't forget about the kids in Marina Court. We can't forget about the kids in Forest Creek. We can't forget about the kids at Warrenton Middle School as well. So, I mean, unfortunately, there's not enough resources to go around, but at least this is a start, that we're helping the kids at Montclair, Oak Crest, you know, and Lincoln Park, in those schools, in that zip code. So hopefully we help those kids, and then we can move forward to help kids at other places. And so you'll find my support, Dr. Northup, and I hope that you'll support this, because these are, quite frankly, the children that were used as the collateral material to get the grant passed.
Madam Chair, I just want to echo something, Commissioner, because one of the things that I think gets sometimes lost is that these initial grants we're evaluating as to outcome and how successful they are, so that we can promote clarity and cooperation so that they can be expanded into other areas. Because we know that there are areas that maybe don't have the resources at this moment to put together a grant. But the people that have put this here will in the future be able to either collaborate, get a group in that community to say, look, we've done this and we can help you get this started. And I think that's one of the perks of all of this as well, is that we can build best practices that can be replicated.
Thanks, Patty, and I appreciate Dr. And I know, and Kim referred to, you know, Commissioner May's district, but this is not Commissioner May's tax, and so that's one of the reasons why, you know, I was voting to stabilize it, because I do realize that I work with 5 people. You know, I work with people on the north end and Commissioner Berry. I work on the west end with Commissioner Kohler, and we never want a perception that we are only focused on one geographical area, because we know children all across this county needs help. But we have to start somewhere. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to pause and be inclusive. Although I'm very supportive of this, I wanted to expand this. One of the reasons I wanted to put brakes is expand it and reach out to the north end and reach out to Warrenton, because I have friends there. But hopefully we'll be able to come back and expand this program to other organizations that want to serve those people who are in the north end and those people who are in the west end.
And just a point of clarification, so we have a recommendation from, is that correct, motion? Even if we pass these 5, it doesn't mean they're going to get this money. They have to submit reimbursements to be able to get this money. So it doesn't mean even if we pass it, they still have to show that they're doing the work. And so that's just something to keep in mind, that we still have to go through contract periods. We still have to vet them more, and then they have to submit reimbursements for everything that they're doing so people can get the money. So it's not just a blank check to these organizations.
Right. And we're not limited to coming back and expanding the geographical area.
So when they are successful, I'm being an optimist here on this, they then will have the responsibility of helping us spread their success to these other areas, like we were just talking about the reading and math improvement in 4 weeks. We need to know what those folks did so that we can look at spreading that practice.
I know people like Rodney that takes his van and goes completely all around Escambia County. And when we look at the deliverable services, Dr. North, when you look at some, I'll be with Derek Brooks, on Thursday. Many of these things are virtual. So, I mean, you're just not helping the kids. At my Boys and Girls Club, I will guarantee you, talk to Leslie, she probably has kids that are from the Cantonment area. I guarantee you she just doesn't have kids that are coming from the Shantytown area or the Baptist Hospital. I would tell you Boys and Girls Club probably have kids from the West End and North End, and a lot of things that we've been doing has been doing virtual. So I don't think your kids are going to be excluded, is what I'm saying.
We have any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So now we have the school readiness match proposal. Ms. Abram?
So the Early Learning Coalition had a grant last year that allowed about 200 children to get school readiness vouchers that would not otherwise qualify. It is a state match. In order to get the funds from the state, School Readiness Coalition has to have this funding. So they submitted an application again to continue it. Their current grant ends September 30th. So I'm recommending that we vote to approve that.
Move to approve.
Second.
And then you can
Second.
discuss.
Second.
Thank you, Patty. For clarification here, there's a mention of the, looking at the background, state requires a local match to expand eligibility to working family, those in school whose incomes are within approximately, the way this is written, 150 to 85% of the federal poverty level. I think what that is actually meaning, it's 150% of the federal poverty. Well, I found something else called the SMI, which is the state median income. And so that I think that is referencing, and this is, I'm asking this, but I think it's referencing saying it's 150% of the federal poverty level and or 85% of the state median income. Or is it 150% to 185%? And they left a decimal off.
And we have Mr. Watson to answer that.
Yes.
But you're right, Dr. Northrup.
Executive Director of the Early Learning Coalition, Bruce Watson. No, sir, you're exactly right. It's 85% of the state median income, which varies real closely to 200% of federal poverty level, which is where all of our families would graduate out of, regardless of what entry level they come in at.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. I appreciate that.
There was some discussion about, is this a new program that or is this a replacement of already dollars that was been funded by something else? Is this meet within our bylaws and structure of funding new programs and not substituting? There was some backup on that in one of our meetings. I just want a clarification for that to make sure we're in compliance.
If I'd wonder about that too, Dave, because it said something that for 20, I'm looking for my notes on that there was, previously it had been funded through the Escambia County, I thought.
By the commission.
Okay.
And the county said that was discretionary. That wasn't like a automatic funding mechanism every year. But I assume since we're bringing it forward, it meets our criteria.
There it is, 21 years.
Right, and Bruce, we no longer fund that as a county. I think that it became a trust fund, yeah.
So it did used to be funded by the county. Last year, the county forwarded those applications to us.
Yeah, and we no longer funded it.
Okay.
They quit doing the discretionary.
Was there a motion on this?
There's a motion. So I guess, Mary, would you be able to clarify, answer his question? I can't see your face, sorry.
So I recall last year when this came up, we looked into it and I spoke with Allison Rogers, county attorney, regarding the fact that it was discretionary by the county and that they were not any longer funding it. Because it was not mandatory funding by the county, we determined at that time, when you initially funded this, that we would not be supplanting those dollars, that it would be permissible for the trust to fund this program. That was the decision made last year. I've not looked at it since that time.
So Dave, what's the question?
Are we in compliance?
Are we in compliance, Meredith?
I believe funding this program meets your current policies, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a motion.
Bruce, I have an additional question. This, as I read it, yours is the one, and I'm not partial to censoring those north of us. I just know that that area exists
You're a
and needs
little
to be
partial.
considered. This will cover, your organization covers throughout the county, correct? So this is one of the programs considered that I saw as being, having that broad coverage throughout. No, will be inclusive of the 32505, but all areas within the county would be inclusive with this.
There is not a zip code in the county where we do not have a child being served. We have one childcare up in Century. We have several up in the Molino, Inslee area. We serve the entire county from the north to the south to the east to the west.
Great, thank you.
Bruce, I mean, just for a point of clarification, your daycares, like as you said, are in the north end, the west end, the south end, every child's being served, correct?
Every zip code's being served. Every child who makes an application on a first-come, first-served basis gets, their opportunity to enroll into the program if they so qualify.
What percentage of children don't get served?
Roughly, we serve about 10% of the children in the county in any one age group. But that's all that applies on a general basis. We do not serve anybody. The only reason someone does not get served is because they make too much money. And this program expands that window of opportunity from 150 up to, like I said before, to 200%, that without the match money, without an appropriate drawdown from the state, that group of people do not get served at all.
And you're putting this money in grassroots daycares, churches, daycares, small daycares. I mean, you're kind of disseminating this money throughout all 5 districts to
yes,
different people.
definitely.
Yeah.
Always have, always will.
So I'm very supportive of it, yeah.
Okay.
All right. And Dr. North, again, I want your end of the county to be taken care of.
May I add, just to refresh your all's memories, last year we were the very first contract out of the chute, and the decision was made to make it just a 1 year without the 2-year follow-on renewable options. And so we find ourselves in a little bit of a gap zone based on when we came in and when you all originally approved all this. And so I very much hope that we are allowed to have the opportunity to continue this program. Without it, over 200 children, 170 some families will not be served, 120 of which are single parented. That's over 200 people who could possibly lose their jobs on the 1st of October because they don't have childcare anymore.
And Bruce, I tell you what, I'll be even more supportive if we start paying these daycare workers what they're worth. I mean, what? I mean, it would be more money. We're paying people to work with our children $12, $13 an hour. We need to pay them more.
Last year, we actually had the largest increase in our rates in the entire history of the coalition to help people get to that $15 an hour yesterday, not tomorrow.
So are all daycares paying at least $15 an hour now?
It's not mandated. They're independent businesses. Like, we can't order them what to do, but I'm ensuring that they have enough money available to do it.
Absolutely, we can't, but so let me just go on the record for this. We can't, and we've had this in the program committee. We can't mandate them, but we are giving them public dollars. And the very parents that are working in the daycares, have to go on subsidized daycare for their own children, nor can they get housing, because we want them to take care of our children, and we wonder why our children are failing because we're paying people $12 and $13 an hour, and then we wonder why our school kids are not school ready, and we're raising millions of dollars to subsidize programs, and we're not paying them efficiently. So I wish you would bring something forward to help these daycares that are going to pay people, because when we talk about getting their hair done, getting black children hair done, well, pay back parents the proper amount when they're in the daycare. Then they can afford to get their hair done. I mean, subsidizing and doing their hair for free doesn't help their self-esteem. Getting them a job and paying them their worth helps their children be better citizens. So, I mean, they don't need a handout. They need to just be paid fairly for what they're doing. And so I'm going to be very supportive of that. I mean, it's sickening to me that we subsidize people, and the daycare director drives a Mercedes and lives on a house on the hill, and the poor person that's making $12 an hour has to ride the bus to work, and we expect for them to wipe diapers and take care of our children. I think that's like the most insulting thing I've ever seen.
I'm happy to say the majority are already paying $15 or more an hour. We, via federal and state grants for the past year and a half since COVID, we put over $20 million above and beyond what we already pay for our rates.
And I appreciate you doing it, but I think we just got to hold
Yeah.
the daycare directors accountable.
So,
I mean, I have a
yes, we
lot of people in my program, I have a lot of friends who work in daycares who are not being paid, what they deserve, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but again, they work for owners who just don't want to go there. It's not because they can't, they just don't want to. That's unfortunate.
Do we have any more discussion on the motion? No more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Ms. Meredith, did you have anything for us today?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
So we do have public comment. Mr. Freeman?
Good evening, Board. I'm Brian Freeman. I am the Executive Director of Lamplighters Incorporated. I also am a former administrator at Pensacola High School. I want to first thank this staff for their hard work. You have one of the most criticized jobs in this district and in this county, and you do a great job. As someone who works with you as a service provider, thank you for your hard work. So I just wanted to say that publicly. And to our board, I just want to inform you about Pensacola High School in regards to their need for support. Right now, Pensacola High School has less than 5 partners in education. Pensacola High School is one of the oldest and most historical schools in our county, but they have less than 5 partners in education. Lamplighters Incorporated is one of those 5. We have less than 15 mentors assigned to Pensacola High School as of today. So no, we cannot fix everything, but we certainly can get to work in trying to improve. And I appreciate your vote tonight because I am a worker. I am someone who believes that with opportunity, we can have growth. And I truly believe this program at Pensacola High School will have a catalyst effect in the county. So thank you for your vote of confidence. Thank you to your staff for all of your hard work on this tonight. Thank you.
Brian, thank you for your work at PHS. I see Principal Williams, who I think did an omen job, who's now our school board member. I've attended 2 football games. I'm very disappointed in what's happening at PHS because I like to win football games. But I can just tell you, you not only gonna have my support on this board for anything you do at PHS, but for my county position because it is the oldest school, important school. It's in the heart of District 3, and PHS needs some help. I mean, maybe we'll recruit Benny Washington to go back over there and coach, but we do need some help over there at PHS, and you'll have my support.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And is it Nancy? She left. Any other public comment? No other public comment? Board comment? No board comment? Without board comment, we can adjourn at 7:10. Thank you.